My, because y'all rusty dusties know. Y'all should have some information because y'all sure aren't 20 anymore.
I'm not far from it.
And neither is her. Honey. You
No.
can't throw a rock at it.
Yes, I can.
She's
That's
still
all I
on
know.
the other side of 35, man.
But like I said, she can't throw a rock back at 20 though.
Is this
at
thing
29,
rolling?
I can.
You're not 29.
I can throw a rock back at
You
it.
know you can't, baby.
Yes, I can.
You got to be, what's his name?
I could skip a
Terrell.
couple.
It don't matter.
I could
Because the
skip a
children
couple
still think
back.
I look young.
Yeah, you definitely can't skip. Well, you almost.
I can skip a
you're younger
couple
than she
back
is,
to
so.
that.
All right, y'all
I just
ready?
turned 31, man.
Okay.
We already rolling, so you talking about some regular, it's already rolling.
Hey, Dr. Jacquie here for our podcast with a hot topic, pros and cons of dating in your 20s. Man, when you're 20 years old, I'm trying to think back. It's hard for me to remember when I was 20. I'm just joking. Somebody was supposed to laugh at that. Because it hasn't been that long ago. And you could have been a little bit more convincing with that. That sounds like a bewitched laugh. I'm like, what is this? But at any rate, a lot to cover, so let's jump in. We're not going to have you long. So what can you think of that are some of the pros of dating in your 20s, sir?
I would definitely say just experience and gaining what you like and what you don't like. You know, you can find out a lot about what you can tolerate and what is intolerable for you.
In your 20s.
Doesn't work. In your 20s, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of the teenage dating time is really for you to get your butterflies out, your little like first love situation out. But I think a lot of people mismanage some of dating in their 20s, you know? So
When you say mismanage, how so?
I think you shouldn't get into a more serious relationship younger in your 20s, unless you really know that that's the person for you. I think you should more so be single, learn more about yourself for the most part. I think there's anomalies. I think there's different, people that don't fit that mold. But for the most part, I think you should just have fun, enjoy, build what you need to build so that you can be a better person for the potential person that you're going to be with.
I can agree with that. What about you, Michelle?
I agree. I think for our generation, I mean, we are millennials. We were still on that trajectory or that narrative that you have to get married by a certain age. And in your 20s.
And what was that age?
25 for a woman. And for a man, you have more time. But for a woman, 25, if you weren't married, you're kind of considered still an old hag or an old maiden or what's wrong with you. I think the newer generation, they have the flexibility of they don't have a time period. They just, whenever they find the right person, that's when they find it. So I was that person who thought I had to be stuck to a timetable. I did get married by the time I was 25, and it was hell on wheels, child. But I agree.
That's another
topic. That's another topic. But I agree with Aaron. I think if I knew more, one, about my own self, who I was becoming, what I wanted, what I didn't want, I would have made that decision. Because it would have been based on other people's perception or desperation.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this again because people they've heard me say it before, but I think that if you use dating for that opportunity to be your classroom of learning about who you are, like you said, what you can tolerate, what you like and what you don't like, it wouldn't be an issue. But the harm comes in and the pain when we make it something much deeper, when we start getting intimate with people, sexually. Now there's skin in the game, and I think that a lot of times there's a lot more hurt. What I love as a pro to me for dating in your 20s is that you're not tainted.
Less baggage.
Yeah. I mean, so you're really able to come to a relationship really wanting to know people. The only con is that you don't have knowledge. There's this saying that says you have zeal but no knowledge. So, you're excited about seeing other people, dating people, but you just don't know enough about how to set boundaries or what are your do's and your don'ts. And so you just kind of dive in, and it's like a living experiment. And often it doesn't end well. And so a lot of times those dating adventures that we've had when we're in our 20s, we started out untainted, but over time we quickly get tainted, Or as you say, have a lot of baggage.
Well, I mean, these days, people do come with baggage because they got about 10 children and 17 baby daddies, but that's another topic too. But you still have, I think, less baggage of the hurt and that trauma that you're carrying into your relationship in your 20s. I'm in my 30s now, so I have to work through trauma that I experienced in my 20s and my late 20s now relationship that I am in my 30s. So I think you have less baggage in that regard in your 20s.
You know, when you said that, it's like I almost saw that there was like 3 or 4 people in that current relationship with you. Mm-hmm. It's like you kind of carry them people with you. You ain't with them anymore.
Right.
They're nothing to you now, but somehow they're still invading your current relationship. They still with you on the journey.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a sad case, but it's really altogether true. So what do you do to try to mitigate the issues of your past hurts from those past relationships while you're trying to deal with embracing this new relationship?
It's a lot of self-talk and reminding myself that they're not that person. And trying to see what did they show me versus what I'm trying to create in my mind is going to happen. So it's a lot of self-talk.
And also, it seems like to me a lot of analysis, like you're analyzing to continually show yourself that this is not that person, that they're not doing the same things that that other person did.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. What about you, sir? Aaron Delro, can you give us some of your pros or cons to dating in your 20s?
I think some of the pros are just, like I said, just for figuring out what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Also just gauging tempo, right? Like everybody has different tempos and temperatures within relationships. Like you may realize that you need somebody high speed, fast paced, maybe like you might be, right? Or you realize, okay, I don't need somebody who matches my same speed. I need somebody that's opposite speed, a lot slower.
Yeah, slows
like
you down a little
slows
bit.
me down a little bit. Things of that nature. I think some of the cons, there actually could be many technically, would be more so just that need for self-discovery, right? So that time frame where you really need to just be by yourself. You need to learn yourself more. You need to figure out some of your personal goals. A lot of times in the United States, I think we think about financial goals or like career goals. We don't talk a lot about personal goals. Like a personal goal is Michelle may want to be a mother, right? We don't chart towards that a lot of times. It just happens. We let stuff happen to us, like your baby daddy point, right? Instead, we should really be more focused in our 20s on how are we going to achieve some of our personal goals. Another personal goal is buying a house. You know
That's
what
good.
I'm saying?
That's good.
Like things of that nature. So I think those are pivotal things. But I also think part of your 20s got to be for having fun. You got to just have fun. Because you don't want to be the person that's in a relationship later in life at 29, right on that boundary line of 30, or in your early 30s, and then you never had your fun, you know? Or you really want to start a family, but you're holding off starting a family because you need to have that fun with your mate now, your fiance or husband or wife, whatever the case, right? So I think it's intricate, you know? It's intricate dating in the 20s. My personal suggestion would be try to leave the first early bit of your 20s to be single and really cultivate who you want to be as a person and who you are as a person moving forward.
You touched on something that I think is really important. I think that for women, the biggest thing that undermines our success is the fear of being alone. Unlike men are solitary. Men, they go to the mall by themselves. They do a lot of stuff. They live alone. They don't feel any kind of way, you know. But women are different. We're socialized from birth to do so many things together. We do everything together. Go to the bathroom together, go shopping together. We live together. We do everything together. And so I find that the fear of being alone is something that I think that accelerates prematurely this process that we should be using for self-discovery, to always being with someone. So you never get that time for self-reflection and for, like she even said, analyzing your life so that you can try to gain some lessons, because we're always trying not to be alone. And, you know, that was a fear that I had when I was in college. I realized, like, I'm always with somebody, and I don't like this time of being alone. And so it was something that I felt was really important for me to conquer. And I think that that's an issue for young women. That's the reason. What you're saying sounds so like matter of fact, good wisdom. So why isn't it being done? Because I think the fear of being alone.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Definitely for women, that was a fear of mine. I didn't want to be alone. Then once I did get divorced, I loved being alone, but I was in my 30s, so it was different. But that fear of being alone is really, I fear that I'm not going to be safe. I feel like women, we feel safer when we have someone. I think men feel safer on their own because they feel like they can control the environment better of those extra people. So that was a fear of mine, and I agree But there were like your 20s, your early 20s, yes, have fun. I think in our 20s, we don't focus enough on preparation to your point of, I want to be a mother. Well, you take a parenting class. Like, we don't prepare for that. I want to buy a house. We need to prepare to get your finances in order. And I know I didn't do that until after I was 25, I was already married. Because I would have prepared beforehand. I wouldn't have made the decision that I made. I think a lot of us fall into that. Even if we don't get married, we may get with this person, we have a child, and then now the child is left with our bad decision because we didn't prepare properly to be with this person for a lifetime. So I would say 20s, have fun in the beginning, but now you need to start preparing for life.
Well, you know what? I don't really have anything else to add to that. I think that that's the message that we need to take home, is that we need to prepare. And that we need to get to know ourselves. So I think the takeaways are very clear. But also I think that we need to see that we should not be afraid of being alone. We need to be aware of that hidden enemy that's going to rob us of the lessons that we need to be learning and the experiences that we need to have. And so being solitary, being able to have time to reflect and to process. And you know, something that I do almost every day, it's like I'll be driving home and it's like my day starts to replay. It happens a lot when I'm showering at night or I'm just taking a bath, I'm just sitting in the tub and my day begins to replay. And it's so funny because all the things that I went through start to add up. You know how you can read something? You can read the writing on the wall, but they talk about reading, that an essential aspect of reading is comprehension. You read it, you got all the words right, phonetically, right? You read it, but did you understand what all that meant? And I feel like a lot of times as we go through our day, if we don't have that time for reflection, we're not able to comprehend what that day brought to us that we didn't have. What did these different experiences mean that we should take away from that day? And so for me, that replay thing. And it's so funny how I'll see certain things that will stand out in my mind that apparently happened during the day, but I didn't comprehend. I didn't add up everything. And so now I get that moment to then go back and now replay it and now learn and take my notes and make those memos to self that I need to take forward. And so in closing, that's what I would say that, the fear of being alone is stealing from us, is that opportunity to enjoy the lessons that life has taught us, to glean from them and to make those mental notes that we need to go forward on. Well, anyways, I just want to thank Delro and Michelle for joining us today. Don't argue with me now. You are definitely far from your 20s. You can't even throw a stone back at the 20s.
It's right there. I can make my way over there a little bit.
No. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again for part 2.